Welcome to our hymn, where you don't want to look down on short people. I'm pretty short for a guy, 5'5" or 1'65". At the time of this event, I was in college. We had a class about how we were supposed to deal with aggression, both instrumental aggression and emotional aggression. FYI, emotional aggression is, as the name indicated, aggression coming from emotions like anger or grief. Instrumental aggression is aggression used as a tool to reach a certain goal. It's manipulative and insidious. Most of it was practical exercises where one student had to act as the aggressor and the other as the one handling the aggressor. In this exercise, I had to pretend to be the aggressor while the other student, let's call him, had to be the victim while trying to get me to leave the premises. There are certain tactics for this, like starting out polite and getting increasingly less polite, until eventually the victim keeps yelling, "Get out," which is usually where the aggressor stops and actually gets out. A was taller than me by at least 20 centimeters 7 inches. While we were doing the exercise, he laughed and mocked me, saying sorry, but he could never be intimidated by such a small guy like me. I was trying pretty hard to come over as aggressive, but all he did was laugh. It felt pretty humiliating. Just do the exercise please, even if you have to play along. Couple of months later, we have to do our exam, and I get paired up with the same guy. Again, I'm the aggressor using instrumental aggression. The situation is that I'm smoking in a non-smoking area, whereas he is the safety advisor trying to get me to leave. Oh boy, it's payback time. In a normal situation, I have to act up a bit and then leave after tactics are used, but I felt like simulating real life, just a tiny bit more. This is how the exam went, while other students and the teacher watched. Excuse me sir, but you're not allowed to smoke in this parking lot. Please put out the cigarette. Me. Nah. Again, it's against the rules to smoke here. I advise you to leave. Me. Advise all you like, boy. I'm telling you to leave now. Me. Yawns and pretends to ignore him while smoking a fictitious cigarette. Get out. Me. Chuckles and keeps smoking. Get out. This is where the scenario usually ends. Me. Starts walking towards him and blows fictitious smoke in his face, and see him get flustered. Get out. Me. Walk back towards my smoking spot and continue smoking. Just because you're yelling now doesn't mean anything's changed. A's face is beet red by now, and he's visibly shaking from nervousness. It's still an exam, after all, and he's at a loss. With trembling voice, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police. Me. Cool as an ice cube, go ahead. Few more puffs and my cig is finished anyway. Pretends to call the police. Me. Well, I'm done. See ya, dumbass. Scenario end. Visible relief on A's face, and that of the surrounding students who thought it was all a bit too intense. A walks up to me complaining that I dragged it out too long. Respond by telling him things don't always play out the way you've learnt them in class. Teacher agreed with what I said, and follows up by saying that the important thing was that I left. Even if his actions didn't have that much impact on me, he still did everything by the book. So it's not like he failed his exam, which wasn't my intention either. I just wanted to give him a hard time because shorties are people too, jackass. Toxic. This story begins during the COVID gaming glory days of 2020. But we'd been internet friends for about 8 years at this point. He was always pretty abrasive, but was fun to play within our little gaming group when he wasn't being toxic to the rest of us. Best thing was to direct the toxic stuff towards the other team. Anyway, he begins a campaign of bringing up my partner's boobs, referring to them as milkers constantly, in every single conversation about anything without prompt. I asked him to stop, as it wasn't really funny. I was uncomfortable, and due to COVID, my partner and I were playing games from the same room most nights as there was very little else to do. It got to the point that I stopped coming onto Discord to avoid the comments. After about 4-5 months of this constant barrage, she couldn't hear the comments, but it was super weird. I was still working in customer service retail during the lockdowns, as bikes were considered essential services. After a long day of dealing with stressed staff and difficult clients, I didn't really feel like an incel cherry on top. I guess that's the context for what happens next. Well, he started up a Twitch stream, again. Classic 2020 pandemic mode. The 10 or so of us that played with him had no idea, but he was streaming our games and Discord conversations onto his Twitch, and when caught and confronted about it, got super mad that we didn't really want to be on his channel all the time. We sometimes used real names on Discord, plus, he'd banned us all so we couldn't participate in his chat. We all had a massive falling out, and he left the Discord, preferring to stream to his nightly 4 viewers, 2 of whom are bots, and 1 is his brother. Anyway, so I've now created over 100 Twitch accounts to say mean things to him on his stream, and he's only finally learned to set his account to verified only mobile. So now, he's stuck at 600 followers, and has been for months. Though he thinks that Twitch is pure luck, unless you're a female. He has put on about 70 kgs. Got kicked out of home, he is 30. Constantly tweets about Elon, Mr. Beast, and at female streamers saying he is bricked up. Pretends to be a mental health advocate while also calling people retard and GY. I appreciate the grind. But streaming to less than 5 people for 2 years seems to not be working out. And a quarter of his followers are my troll accounts. Happy Merry Christmas, you garbage being. This is probably the one and only habit I took up and kept to this day, just to be petty. Since we are here to enjoy some nice cup of good old petty tea, and not for family drama, I won't go into the whole story about what a fine specimen of human garbage my stepfather SF is, but to give some summary for context. My mom and me coexisted in the same living space. But that was pretty much it when it came to the responsibilities of a caretaker. When SF moved in my early teen years, things went to him actively bullying me out of their life quickly, and she enabled him, so at 15, packed my things and left. We went no contact for some years, but in my 20s things developed in a direction where mom and me built up a somewhat friendly relationship. Not a mother-daughter one, though I had come to terms with her never taking on the role of a caretaker, and always putting SF first. More like an aunt, I see, on family gatherings. And oh, the family gatherings. SF was as strong and despicable as ever. Not actively attacking me in front of the family, but making comments here and there under his breath that he knew I could hear, making toasts on how he was my mom's savior, out of her misery when everyone else left her, for example me, and so on. I'm happy to say that with time, therapy, and working on myself, I am now able to not let it get to me anymore. The best revenge is a life well lived, after all. And he's absolutely not worth the energy and negative emotions which only affect my well-being. I couldn't resist this one repeated act of pettiness though. For Christmas, of course, my present is to them both as a couple, and not only to my mom, as it would raise flag from the family. They always get some nice pralines. Sometimes, I bake a gorgeous cake. I love getting creative with cake decorating. One time I bought a really good red dessert wine, way too sweet for my taste, but my mom liked it very much. He's diabetic. Horrible roommate. Now almost 30,000 in debt. I posted this on Pro Revenge because of the hefty fine, but was told to come here. First I want to say that this is not my story, it's my best friend's, and she gave me permission to share. She's excited to read the comments lol. So my friend, I'll call her Melissa, 22F, let an old high school pal, call her Karen, 25F, move into her house about a year back. She brought along with her her big dog and 2-year-old son. Melissa knew this would be a big change, but Karen assured her they were both well behaved, and she needed a place to stay to get away from her baby daddy, who we later found out was actually a really sweet guy. Problems started almost immediately. The dog ruined Melissa's couch, and Karen did not respect my friend's house. She left trash and food everywhere. Karen constantly invited her baby dad to stay the night, despite Melissa saying he was not allowed in her house. The dog and Karen tormented Melissa's 1-year-old cat to the point where the poor thing never came out anymore. Then to top it off, when Melissa told Karen she had to leave, after about 5-6 months, Karen resorted to verbally abuse Melissa, spreading horrible lies to people, and it's a small town. making fun of medical conditions Melissa has, and saying incredibly inappropriate and insensitive things about her mother who struggles with alcoholism. There's more, but let's get to the revenge part. Melissa went no contact after she kicked Karen out. Fast forward about a month, and she receives a call from Karen while she's at the GF's job and family services office. She was asking if she could use Melissa's address for her insurance to save a buck. My friend said absolutely not, and that she doesn't appreciate being asked to commit insurance fraud, then hung up. She stewed for a moment, then called back, but she didn't call Karen. She called GF's to report her. Karen apparently used her address anyway and was trying to get out of a bunch of medical bills she had stacked up. She was hit with the $28,000 fine. How did my friend find this out? From Karen's baby daddy. They bonded over this and had started seeing each other. Oops. Anyway, I definitely am glad I'm on Melissa's good side. Jokes.